Today on Let's Talk, we have Kristy Nichols, and Kristy is Executive Director of the Northeast Arkansas Children's Advocacy Center. Welcome, Kristy, and please tell us a little bit about the Advocacy Center and who it serves and what your mission is.
Well, thank you for having us. What we do is we see children when the hotline is called, the Child Abuse Hotline. We see priority one, sexual abuse mainly, but we also see other forms of abuse as well. What's significant about us is that we actually see the kids the day the hotline is called, possibly the next day depending on the priority. But like I said, we see those priority one cases. So we see the worst of the worst cases. And we also see cases that maybe nothing happened, but we're there to find out, and we're there to be there for those kids. So we provide advocacy for that family. They get to come in our center, and we just make them comfortable. We make that child comfortable and the family comfortable, the non-offending family members. And we have a playroom for the kids to play in. We have a teen room if it's a teenager, and they can just hang out with us. So they're just comfortable before that they have to go in and do their forensic interview. We also have trained forensic interviewers that have Child First training, which is a specific training for forensic interviewers for children that have been sexually abused or abused in other manners or ways. And so what we do then is, after we do the forensic interview, we also have a component of the medical. So we can actually do the forensic medical exam right there on site, where they used to have to go to Little Rock. They would have to go there or some other place. They get to go right here in Jonesboro. All 9 counties that we serve can come right here. So we're centrally located for all those counties, and we're just here for the kids. And it's so much better that they can have everything done in one place, and it's friendly, child friendly, as calm and relaxing as possible. It's not done in their home. We're not going into their home to do an interview where maybe the abuse has taken place. We're doing it in a neutral setting. We do a neutral fact-finding interview. We follow them with advocacy all the way through the case and even farther. We stay with them as long as they want. So even though the case is closed at a certain point, we can stay with them as long as they need us. And we make sure they get trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy, play therapy, or whatever is needed for that child to get through this, because we want to see prosecution, and we aid in that. But at the end of the day, prosecution isn't going to make a happy, healthy citizen,
Right.
a child grow up to be healthy and happy. We want to make sure that happens first and foremost.
Well, you've touched on some things that just bring to mind about a dozen questions that I want to just blurt out at you, because it's such a tender topic, and I want to so bear with me as I try to unravel what all the stuff in my
I know.
Yeah.
We tried to do an elevator speech, but there's no elevator for this, because it's just all out there. We do a ton of things all in one place.
First of all, where are you located?
We're at 1302 Stone Street,
Okay.
and we actually just expanded. So now we are 3 buildings wide, and we're working on getting those offices set up. We're lacking the funding, but we're working on that. But we have the building space, and we're ready to get it done.
In Stone Street, that means you're not far from St. Bernard's Hospital?
Not far at all.
Okay. I'm assuming you do a lot of work with other agencies, with the hospitals and with other agencies, because what you do. How big is your staff?
I have 5 on staff,
Okay.
but then we also have, it's kind of misconception how many people work there, because we have a ton of people who come in and work.
Yeah.
Because we have Crimes Against Children Division of State Police have offices at our location, so they're coming in. They're not on our staff, but they're one of the agencies we work with. Every 2 weeks in Craighead County and every 3 weeks in all of our other counties, we meet and have an MDT, which is multidisciplinary team. We have our Craighead County one on site, and that's something we're able to keep going because we did that expansion, and now we have room. We started out where we would only have a few people coming. We have up to 20 people coming to this meeting now, where used to you would have everyone having the same case. So we would have DCFS, Division of Children and Family Services, working on a case, and then they may not realize that CACD has the same kid working on a case. Then we have law enforcement working on a case, maybe with this family. Well, now we meet every 2 weeks and we talk about every case that's open, that's a priority one, that's open in that last 2 weeks. So now we're all on the same page. We all know that this family is needing services. We can make sure that case comes together all before it gets to court, all before we're trying to make a case out of this. So we can work on helping that family a little more and helping that child and get the services that they need.
I mean, this is a whole lot to get your arms around.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you get a report, first of all, who does the report come from?
If you're a mandated reporter, we do trainings in that as well. So those are teachers, caregivers, youth serving organizations. Then the law has now expanded it a little more. So if you're in charge of kids, you're probably a mandated reporter. Mandated reporters can call in. Anyone can call the hotline. So if you were to call the hotline, it would go to Little Rock, and they would accept it or not accept it for investigation. Once it's accepted, then it will either go to CACD, Crimes Against Children Division of State Police, or it'll go to DCFS. Once it's there and their supervisors get it, they'll give it to one of their investigators. Then they'll call the CAC, and then the child will come to the CAC, and then that's where it'll start. So they'll start interviewing the child there, or we'll interview the child for them while they watch, and they can ask questions, because we only want to interview that child once. Where in the past we may have had all of these different people interviewing, and I actually brought this along. It's a super easy little thing, but it just shows how in the past there were so many people that were interviewing a child. Like the teacher would talk to the child and ask them all of these questions, and now we provide training to say, hey, don't ask all these questions, just get this information and call it in. Then maybe they would talk to their counselor, and then the counselor would talk to the principal, and then the principal might call it in, and then they might call the police. The law enforcement may come and talk to the child. Then they may bring the child to the nurse, to the doctor, to the hospital, then to Little Rock. Then maybe we would then talk to state police, Crimes Against Children Division. If after you've asked the child so many times the same question, what do you think is going to happen? You think about in school now, they will ask a question. Say I asked you what 5 plus 5 is, and you said 11. Instead of saying, no, you got it wrong, we'll just go to the next child and we'll ask the same question until we get the right answer. So how do you think that child feels if someone different has asked them the same question so many times? It's not that they are lying. Sometimes it's that we just want to give you the right answer so you'll stop asking me.
Right.
So we don't want that to happen.
Hear.
We
Right.
want them to come in, and our interviews are video recorded too. So everyone involved in that case that is investigating or that would have had to interview can be in that other room. They can be asking questions through this trained interviewer. They also get a disc, so they all have the same information. There's not a bunch of, duplicating or trying to see if a kid lied, some way like that.
Or putting the kid through trauma.
Yeah, we're not doing that. The whole point behind the CAC is to reduce that trauma on that child. And that's where we know we've done our job if we can do that. If we can have the moments like we've had when our neighbor has said, it hurts our heart to see a child leave your office crying and holding on to the door, and we can look disrespectful and smile and say, oh my goodness, we're so sorry, but that child was just crying because they wanted to play with our train set a little longer, because they weren't crying about the abuse, because we made them comfortable.
Yeah.
And we didn't over traumatize them on something that they weren't overly traumatized over yet.
Right.
So we're helping them through that process. But it's great to say a child cried because they wanted to play with our train set, not because of the abuse.
That's right. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Can you, without names, can you tell us anything about the kids that you've served, and what outcomes maybe you've seen from them? Any anecdotes?
I can think of one in particular time that we had a child come in who wasn't willing to speak, didn't want to speak, and hadn't been speaking for quite some time. We'd heard from therapists and family members that the child just had shut down. And through something that one of our staff members was able to do through the services we provide, and through the medical exam, we were able to give that child peace of mind, because the medical exam is not always about finding DNA, we do all the CSI cool stuff with black lights, all the stuff you see on TV. I say cool stuff because that's what people have in their mind that we do, but we also do a huge mental health piece on that, and that is that we want a child to know that no one can look at them and say something's happened to them. In fact, we used the Kellogg study to prove that, in that there were several young ladies who were pregnant and they were teenagers. They did a study on these young ladies, and they did a sexual assault exam on each one of these. And there was a very few percentage of these ladies who had any proof on their sexual assault exam that they had ever had sex. How is that? They're pregnant. So that proves that we're not always going to find something. And we've used that in court many times, or it's been used in court many times, that defense attorneys want to say, well, there wasn't any medical proof, so it couldn't have happened. That's not true at all. In fact, less than 6% will have medical proof, but it's, to us, one of the equally important things is to let that child know that if a doctor can't tell, no one else is going to be able to tell. No one can look at you walking down the school hallway. You don't have a red light on your head saying you've been abused. Right. You're okay. And so this child that we had come in, we were able to do this medical exam. And this has happened multiple times, but this child left speaking with their head held high. I mean, when you get a call from the therapist asking, what did you do to this child is talking, you know something's been done right. So you know you have a pretty good job. That's good.
That's good. Well, I think that's something that intrigues us. You know, it takes a special person to go into this type of field, and I think you and the other people who work and volunteer in this field have a real commitment and real passion for it. Can you tell us what you personally, what made you really want to get into this and do this service?
Well, you know, I didn't know this kind of thing existed. I don't mean sexual abuse. I mean right. A CAC. What a great idea someone had came up with, that this could be all in one place to help kids. We actually my husband and I had just saw a little story on the CAC here opening up and getting a medical, and I told him, I said, one day if they need an executive director, I'm going to do that. It was funny because it just so happened about 6 months later, and I laugh about it because I'm not the biggest person to go on and on about something like this, but we were looking for a miniature pony for my daughter, and we looked in the miscellaneous farm animals in the Jonesboro Sun, and the ad for the CAC's new executive director was misplaced about 6 months after we had saw that video. And I was in the car, and I told my husband, I was like, you know, I think here's my miniature pony, but I think this is what I want. And we went for it, and this is where I would never want to do another thing. I can't imagine. And I always thought, you know, it seems not ambitious to me. I was always an ambitious person and thought, how could anyone want to do the same thing forever? And then here I am. I never want to do another thing. It is that great to be able to do the good things for people, and the things that you always thought when you went to school. Because you know, when you go through school, you think you're going to do all of these great things for people in the service, in these services and industries. But then you get into the system and realize your hands are tied. There's so many people that need help, and you can't help them all. But the CAC can do great things, and especially with a community behind it. We're only as good as the community we're in. And so we have a great community. And
Well, speaking of that, you have a program called the Superheroes, and the cool thing about that is you don't have to be a superhero.
but you are a superhero if you're helping kids.
Well, tell me how.
Well, if you don't, you can donate, of course. That's the easiest.
But
Anyone,
not even a whole lot of money?
anything helps. And kids can be superheroes. We actually, our first superhero award went to two little boys who donated their train set. They saw that we had a need. We always are in need of stuffed animals. Every child that comes in gets to pick a stuffed animal off the wall of hope before they leave. We don't tell them that before they come in because we're not bribing kids or anything like that. But when they leave, we just say, hey, you want to grab something, after everything's said and done. And that's something they can just keep, because we want them to walk away. This was a good thing that happened. We want good to come out of this. We want less trauma. We want to lessen the trauma in any way we can. But kids can donate stuffed animals. Adults can donate and help. We always need help cleaning, things like that. We need monetary items. We need gift cards. We have families that come in and they stay all day sometimes, and they need food. We have kids who have to go into foster care. They need things that you don't think of. They need hair dryers sometimes. You don't think of a foster child needing a hair dryer, but
Right.
they need a hair dryer. But just little things, anything that you can think of that you need on a daily basis or that you would want your child to have in this situation.
How do we give?
You can call the center. You can go to our website. It's www.neacac.net. Our phone number is 870-275-7902. You can definitely call before you come, because we are on lockdown all the time, which our doors are locked and you can't get in.
Okay.
But if we have a family there, we won't answer the door, because that's that family's time, and it's
Gotcha.
very confidential. So we want it to be all about the family that's there. So don't be offended if we don't answer the door if you come. Just call first, and we'll be glad to meet with you.
Very good. Very good. Well, thank you so much, Kristy. I can't thank you enough for joining us on Let's Talk. The Northeast Arkansas Children's Advocacy Center is a fabulous organization. Thank you for coming and sharing with
Thank you
us
for having
about it.
us.
All right.